Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now. I'm the Philly Gamer, Zach. No regular intro today because I am traveling and I don't have the full editing tools, but I'm trying to edit the podcast right now. I wanted to ask you guys real quick, though, while I had a minute to say, hi and no intro. I really wanted to I've been weighing this option of whether or not Philly Sports Now should be separated from the Philly Gamer. Philly Gamer is something I've had for quite a few years now, and it's just been a fun way to share everything with everyone. I've always enjoyed it, and I will keep doing it as much as I can. However, it feels like Philly Sports Now might need to be separated from that. And if you feel like you agree or not, feel free to let me know in the comment section on YouTube or shoot us a tweet. Anyway, I don't want to hold up the podcast too much. I just wanted to ask if anyone had any opinions on whether or not Philly Sports Now should be separated, especially if I kept doing more games in the future, sporadically, whatever. I just wanted to know how much of you guys wanted that as its own thing. So thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And now, on with Philly Sports Now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew. We're back to talk all things Philly sports. Now, the Phillies are currently playing against the San Francisco Giants, Game 3 of a 4-game series at home. I'm not watching it because every single one of my accounts has logged me out, so I have to watch it through the Score app and everyone else right now. But I had some interesting things going on. We are currently losing 5-4. And it is on an Aaron Nola start, no less. So we will talk about that, I'm sure. But a lot has happened since our last podcast. I'm just going to kind of skip over the life stuff because life happens, hence why we're here. Phillies have lost. I have 2 straight series. So we pull off a win against the Dodgers, which I predicted was going to be a losing series. Andrew said was going to be the winner takes Friday, who takes the series. He was correct. The Phillies won Friday. They took the whole series. Now, great series win because I think it shows the confidence the Phillies have at home against a fairly unstoppable team, literally giving them their first loss of the year season-wise. The next 2 back-to-backs, Braves lost series, Cardinals lost series. I can't fault the Braves. They're a division rival. The teams know each other. It sucks because we gave them their first win of the year season-wise or series-wise. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Cardinals is a little different. Excited to hear Andrew's opinion on the Cardinals series. But we're in a weird spot right now. You know, they're 1-1 against the Giants series-wise. This being a losing game so far with that 5-4 score. Kind of a predicament. I said it at the beginning, but, are the Phillies in a slump? I think there's some conditions this team has to kind of get control of, but I also think there is a lot to be said about Phillies fans needing to not treat this like an Eagles season. We started this conversation last year. We had this conversation last year, and I think this conversation is just going to have to be said again, which is do not take every single Phillies game like an NFL game. Otherwise, you're going to be worn out. This goes on until October. It's currently April. We have another 5 months of this ahead of us, right? We can't say that the season is over, and we're only 17 games, 18th game happening right now into this season. So a lot at the top here. Andrew, you can say any of your raw thoughts and emotions right now, but let's go back a little bit. If there's nothing directly impacting your ideas right now, let's just jump into how did you feel about the Dodgers win, Braves loss, Cardinals loss?
Yeah, the Dodgers series was exciting. Obviously, going out and taking 2 out of 3 against that team, that the team claims is unbeatable, the big bad Dodgers and everything. You go out and take a series against them, and very exciting to see this Phillies team do that, and especially at home. With all off season, you hear the Phillies need to come out strong and to get that big win. Listen, you can't win every series, and I get it. It stinks to lose 2 in a row, but like you said, the Braves are a division rival. That's the one to me. If you were going to take one of those, you wanted to win the most. Cardinals are a healthy team. They're a good team. They got very good players on their team still. Their pitching's very good. So to me, I didn't mind. I mean, obviously, again, I wanted to win that series, obviously, but that one, It's tough. They haven't. That was the first time they lost the series in St. Louis since 2017. So it's been a while. The Phillies played very well down there. But the Atlanta Braves were beat up. That was the series to me that if I had to pick one of the two, I was more disappointed they lost because I thought again with the Braves battling injuries, they weren't fully healthy yet. They've been off to a slow start. That was the one to steal on the road. And it was unfortunate, but again, you can't win them all. You're going to drop two in a row at some point this season. It's going to happen. And listen, the Phillies are a team we've seen in the past. They never start strong. So at currently 10-7, depending on what happens in this Giants game, maybe 11-7, maybe 10-8. That's not a bad start for this Phillies team. This team's known to pick it up as the year goes on. Overall, again, I'm not too disappointed with the way the season's gone so far. There's players I think that are in slumps. I'm disappointed in some players, but as a team wise, I think this team's just fine. I wouldn't call it a slump just because of two tough series.
So let's kind of take a casual approach here. Maybe everyone pull out their cup of coffee. Maybe this is a Saturday morning podcast for you. Maybe it's Sunday morning. Let's have a talk. Let's do the old. I'm gonna turn my chair around, but not really because that involves me getting up and we're doing a video podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, like and comment if you want to see me do a swivel chair. But let's have that conversation. It's the start of the season, less than 20 games in, 18th game right now. How do you approach how seriously baseball games follow? Because this is one of those things where it's a 4 game series happening right now at home in the bank. You want to see everyone possible, of course you do, and you want to see wins that are emotional, like against the Braves. I don't think he's the manager anymore, but like when the Giants had oh, what's his name? Gabe something?
Gabe Kappa? Gabe
Yeah,
Kappa?
he's not their manager anymore, right?
No, no.
That's what but like that was an emotional game when you go and face an ex-manager on that team kind of a thing. Like those games, there's emotions that play into it, right? When you're not looking at it with and by the way, we're Philly fans, always emotional. We're the most emotional people there is in sports. But when you're not looking at it through an emotional lens, and when do you consider concern about the team? When do you consider it to be a slump? There's a lot of season. Not I'm not even going to say left. There's just a lot of season. Like it is April. It's April
No, we're
16th. So yeah.
10% into the season.
What
That's it.
percent?
10%.
So Andrew, like, what is your approach here when it comes to the mentality of the day-to-day Phillies fan, and not overthinking it is the best way to put it.
My biggest approach, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say that you don't get angry during games, right? Obviously, yeah, everybody wants to win every game, and certain spots and key moments are going to affect different things. But for me, personally, I try to look at it as a series is almost a game. You don't want to go. I mean, again, obviously, losses are going to happen. It's 162 games. You're most likely, even if you won 100 games, that's still 62 losses in the season. Like how
One of these days, I'll remember it's 162, and I won't have to look up the exact.
So, but so like with that being said, though, like that's why I take it as you break it down into the series for me, because you're gonna lose games. You're gonna go out there, right? So while the Phillies lost 2 series, to me, you treat that as 2 games. You lost 2 games in a row. It's not the end of the world. The Phillies have won more series than not. They've won more games, and you know it's in big situations here that it's a shame to see them get off to a start where people want to see every player out and do well. And obviously, different guys in the offseason brought in more pressure for themselves and needed a better start because that's, the fans pinpoint one guy, pinpoint two guys. No one's going to sit here and criticize Bryce Harper because he's Bryce Harper, right? Whether he's off to a great start or a bad start. People might need to say he needs to pick it up. But people focus on, Alec Boehm, who's been criticized all offseason, right? I get it. He's off to a slow start, but he's going to get all the attention. He's going to get all the anger. Phillies wanted more bullpen help. So every time the Phillies bullpen is going to blow one game or give up a run, it's the end of the world because it's the Phillies bullpen and they didn't do enough in the offseason to treat it and get where they needed to be. So no matter what happens, it's the end of the world for one game. I think that's the way fans need to treat it. And again, you just need to treat it as a series by series thing, especially for the hitters. Obviously, pitchers are different because starters only go out there once, but hitters wise, you might go 0 for 4 one game, but you might go 4 for 6 the next two games, right? And your series is just fine. So for me personally, I try to look at it as a series breakdown and not a game by game breakdown.
Now there was something you alluded to there. You mentioned Bohm. I don't have him right now. We can talk about him too, of course. But I think one of the things that becomes maybe like a parasite in your mind as a fan is when you see something that's familiar to you in a negative way. And one of those things I would say is the batting not following through in a lot of these players. And I think the biggest names being thrown around right now are Marsh, Rojas, and Bohm. Uh, I think Marsh is probably the worst in those three. I think his batting is 100 right now, and he's
Yeah,
played in
it's
almost
bad.
every single game. It's bad, yeah, and I think that like so is it realistic for us to start talking about like should we have done something with Marsh at this point? I also actually I want to hear your thought, and then I'll give it a little bit of an answer after.
Yeah, I I think no, I think you're right. I think that's what highlights it. And center field was a spot everybody wanted to improve this offseason. So all the focus will go to Marsh. The team made it clear they had confidence in Marsh and they wanted him to come out, get at bats versus lefties and be the guy. And he's not backed up the front office's thoughts on him this offseason and it's caused a little bit of a chaos. There's that's a spot that really could have made a difference to start this year. Is that ninth spot, whether it's been Marsh or Rojas so far this season have come up in big situations. So that obviously, again, yeah, that's going to highlight it. And, that adds extra to the plate there for, the GM being criticized and Dave Dombrowski and company. And then each time Marsh or Bohm get out, yeah, it's going to highlight it as an extra big spot there.
And now, so it's weird. I think Rojas just kind of gets thrown under the bus. We've defended him time and time again, season and season. Am I muted? Okay, good. I didn't have the screen open, and I was really worried I was muted. So now I'm rambling. But I feel like Rojas is actually, I think, is doing well. But I'll talk Bohm, who has a 169 nice batting average right now, if I remember correctly. I just looked at it, but I'm not going to look again. Um, yeah, I think Bowman Marsh are the key examples when it comes to offense on the team. That is the biggest concern. And you know, I said it. Phillies are an emotional fan base. Philadelphia is an emotional city. We have a lot of games left. 140 something games left, right? So how much time do we give these guys to kind of figure it out? Because at one point, I'm not worried about the Phillies as a team. I'm not. I certainly am not. You certainly shouldn't be to anyone listening. Um, what I am worried about, though, which is I think fair, is can this team survive the postseason? And is this team going to make the same mistakes? Now, you don't. The thing about it is I don't want to talk about the postseason right now. I don't. I don't want to have that conversation. If you want to talk about whether or not Marsh and Bohm should be moved on from, that's one thing. But I just think your only valid argument right now is related to the not you, Andrew, but you, the general you. I think the only valid argument of whether or not to get rid of these guys is because of postseason talk.
Yeah, and I would say in terms of this, it's the way you break it down. And for me, I break it down in segments of the season. So as a team, you really don't worry about the team until we get to the All-Star break. You see where you're at the All-Star break, you figure out what's going on. In terms of postseason talk, listen, it's too early. You don't have to talk about postseason because this team, that's the point of the trade deadline. That's what you see GMs do. If Marsh is still struggling, he's not going to be out there in center field for like if he continues to hit 100, I can guarantee you he will not be the starting center fielder in October. If Alec Bohm continues to hit 165, I can guarantee you he will not be the third baseman come October. So to me, you know, again, breaking into segments, that's the way they're going to look at it too. If it continues to go downhill, you look at your minor leagues, who's playing well. You have guys like Otto Kemp, who's been swinging the bat very well. You have a young prospect and Justin Crawford, who's been playing very well. That's when it might be their time to come up and you try them before, maybe you go out there and make that acquisition. So to me, I think it's definitely too quick to give up on a guy in baseball in less than a month. So I mean, I think yeah, at least got to give him the full month of April. You see where you're at. That's when you'll reevaluate and see where players are at. So for sure, a full month I think is a good spot for a lot of these guys. Obviously, depending on who you are, you're going to have a little more leeway. Obviously, Marsh is going to have less leeway than a guy like Trey Turner or Bryce Harper, right? So, for him, a guy like Marsh, you're going to start platooning him with Rojas. That's what you're going to see, and then you go from there.
My curiosity kind of takes over though when it comes to the roster because so what I was alluding to earlier is Marsh is putting in the time. I was watching the game yesterday. No, it was on Monday, and they were discussing how Marsh and Kepler were putting in the most batting hours practice. They were putting in the most practice period. And, that's the kind of thing you want to hear when you're worried about a player. You're like, are they just like giving up? Are they pulling a Embiid and just having some Chick-fil-A and calling it a day and not worried about practice? Or are they actually getting a little more involved? And it sounds like these guys are putting in the effort already this early in the season. Like they're thinking to themselves, crap, I'm not performing. I got to do better. I got to get myself in the gym more. I gotta go in the batting cage more. And that's good. That's good mentality on those guys, and you want to hear and see that. However, at what point? And I know Andrew, you just said a month, but I'm curious if this specific player plays into it. At what point do you go? Well, I think Sosa could play center field full time.
I don't think you can trust a guy who's never played center field to throw him out there and play full time. It messes with their head in baseball. It becomes an issue with their bat because they're not used to playing out there. It's fun to do for a game here and there, but I don't think realistically midseason you can just throw him out in center field, especially in an important spot like center field that you need to be the captain and the leader of the defense. And you got to control where everyone else is in the outfield on a fly ball in the gap. That's the center fielder's job. So there's a lot more into it. If you want to go and throw him out in left field a handful of times, I think that's different. You can get away with that a little bit more. But I would not want or trust Sosa out there in center field,
So that would
especially
shift Kepler to center, I guess.
yeah, or you rest Kepler against lefties, and you go from there, and you have to live with Rojas or Marsh. And tonight, obviously, you see Schwarber in left field, so that's the other option. And you're living with Rojas in center, and you have Sosa at second against Stott. So and that's what this team is a deep team. This team's going to figure it out. And again, fans are acting like this end of the world with all these issues, and you're still playing over 500 baseball, tied for first place. So again, this team is going to figure it out. It's just April 16th as we record this podcast. If you're listening, it's going to be most likely April 17th and 18th now. So it's still plenty of time left. It's way too early to panic. I know a lot of fans are already. And again, it stems off of what happened last year and at the end of last season, and that's where it is. And everyone expects perfection right now. And it's just not the way baseball works in April.
So speaking of another player who we currently watch drop quite a few points, is currently on a losing streak and is about to go 0-4 unless the Phillies offense really ups their game, which I will say is currently not looking terrible. Knock on plywood. But look,
Right,
I,
but
I
Jinx live
do
here.
I do think a conversation has to be said about Aaron Nola. I don't. I'm not looking to trade him. I'm not looking to off him. Like I don't trade like off. I'm don't not scary. I feel like something's up because he's 0-3. He's about to go 0-4. He gave up 4 home runs in the first 2 games, and even today, I mean, the first 4 runs, only the third or fourth one, I forget which one it said. Excuse me, only one of them was due to an error in the field. So like I got to put the other 3 on him. So he's just not looking good this season. Having a tough start, I guess is the best way to say it. So Andrew, you're a typical Aaron Nola defender, and I'm not trying to say that negatively, but why shouldn't we be concerned about him? I mean, we've already talked about him, and we're talking about him again.
It's typical Aaron Nola for this part of the season. He usually takes a little bit to get into a groove. He's not. Sounds weird to say, but he likes to pitch in warmer weather, and it's kind of the way it is. And his velocity's been down to start the year a little bit, and he's been out of rhythm, a little out of control. You saw today in the first inning, which was a weird thing to see. You don't see him walk too many batters, and he went out and walked two in that first inning. So I just think he's in a weird spot. He's gonna figure it out. He's figured it out plenty of other times, and the offense, hasn't hit behind him. In the first three starts he had this year, the team scored a total of 2 runs. So you're not going to win games scoring. So I don't take too much into his record, to be honest, because again, when you score 2 runs in 3 games behind a pitcher, you're not going to win, obviously. And one of those 2 runs came in the ninth inning when he was already pulled after the sixth inning. So really, you've only scored 1 run before tonight's game while he was on the mound, and that's where he gets that 0-3 record from. So while yes, record is obviously a part of baseball, it's also a misleading stat at times, and you know I think going forward, once you turn the calendar month, I think he's going to figure it out. And again, he's proven no reason not to. And I think one reason that still gives me confidence is his strikeout numbers are still really good. So he's figuring out a way to have his curveball and the strikeouts. If they're still up, he's still figuring out a way to do good things, and he'll be just fine. Now, if the
So
strikeouts start to go down, that's when the concern will start happening.
I'm going to be a little bit devil's advocate because I feel like we can't just praise Nola. We gotta talk about it, and I'm going to use this game as an example, the one currently happening. And you talked about it a little bit, but I was also watching the game, so a little off. For the record, I watched two of the Giants outfielders. I thought they were going to collide, and I thought for sure they were going to drop the ball, and they did not. And I was pretty disappointed in that. But this game, like I said, we could chalk one of these runs up to an error, and that's 3 runs. And the Phillies scored 4 so far, but the score is now 7-4. I'm genuinely asking because I didn't have the game due to, like I said at the start, technical difficulties. But when did they pull Null?
They pulled him in the sixth inning after loading the bases. So sorry. In the middle of the sixth inning after loading the bases. So they pulled him with 1 out in the fifth. Or one out in
what
the
was
sixth.
and the score at that point?
5-4.
And so
That's when the reliever came in and gave up 2. But it's
I
charged to
gotta
Nola because
like
they're his
I
runner.
can't I can't I think those 2 runs are still on Nola, even though the
No, they
reliever
are. They are.
for sure.
And that's why he gets charged with them.
So out of the 7 runs, we're officially saying 6 of those are his fault. The Phillies have put 4 up on the board today. I mean, sure they just left Turner on third, and for sure, and that's absolutely an issue. And on my list here of things we haven't even gotten to, which is key takeaways in the season, the runners in scoring position continues to be an issue from last season. It's absolutely an issue. However, However, I just think Nola is also not helping enough to counter uh, other teams' offenses. Is the best way to put it. He's doing well enough, but for when this team struggles offensively, he's not the elite pitcher he kind of needs to be. And I'm not talking about his payroll. I don't give a hoot because it's not my money. I just don't care. But I do think he is expected to be an elite pitcher regardless of his payroll. I think it's just that's the level of pitcher we need out of him. And I do think he's not living up to that. And I'm not saying he's wasting salary. Wasting is the wrong word, but if you have him in that elite spot, he needs to perform in an elite level.
Yeah, but my counter to that would be tonight was really his first bad outing of the season, in my opinion. Um, Last outing, he only gave up 2 runs, struck out 7 in 5 innings. Again, 2 runs is not bad. If you lose a game 2-0, I'm not putting that on the pitcher, so I don't blame him. The game against the Dodgers, he gives a quality start, only gives up 3 in 6 innings. Again, you lose a game 3-1, you got to score more. First game, he gave you 5 shutout innings before giving up 2 home runs in the sixth inning, but you were tied 0-0. If you were able to score, you left plenty of runners on the beginning. That's not going to fall. So to me, tonight was truly his first bad outing of the season, and unfortunately, he gave up 6 runs. He did strike out 8 in five innings. So again, his strikeout numbers was there.
That's
So
pretty damn good. That's
so
pretty
so
damn
again,
good.
so again, to me, this was his first bad outing. Am I disappointed? Yes. And again, fans like to get on Nola for whatever reason. I'll continue to say it. He's the most underrated and
Well,
underappreciated
actually,
Philadelphia
can I
athlete of
cut
my
you off
lifetime.
there? I agree, but I wanted to. We talked about this last time. I don't think it's for whatever reason. I think fans like to get on Nola because he's an easy target. It's the same with Marsh. You know, like Marsh is bad at batting right now. He is statistically bad, and when it comes to the pitching lineup that the Phillies have, I think Nola is kind of the weakest link. It, not literally, but when you look at all the pitchers, he is the one that's doing the most incorrectly. So it's weird. I I I don't think it's deserved, like you're saying. Like I agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily deserved, but at the same time, I understand where the trigger is coming from, for better or for worse, from Philly fans.
Yeah, I don't because they expect him to be perfect. They expect him to be perfect. I'll continue to say it. He got a lot of hate after innings of only giving up 2 runs. He got a lot of hate after giving up 6 runs or 6 innings and 3 runs against the Dodgers. And
Yeah, but
he's
what about 4 home runs in 2 games? Like that's bad.
it's not though. If you're only giving up 2 home runs and you're 3 runs, I don't care. You can give up 3 home runs. If it's 3 solo home runs and you win a game 7-3, give me 7 innings and a quality start. I don't care about how many home runs you give up. I care about how many runs you give up. I could care less if he leads the league in home runs every giving up most home runs every year. I care about how many runs does he limit them to. And he again outside of tonight, tonight was his first true bad outing in my opinion. Outside of tonight, he's limited the damage, and your offense hasn't gotten the job done. That's why he is one of your franchise leaders in strikeouts. He goes out there and performs. You can rely on him to pitch at least 5 innings every game. He's a guy that doesn't get hurt often. Knock on wood. He's a guy that goes out there, gives you 200 innings. I mean, I don't know what else fans want from him. And every time that guy makes a mistake, it acts like it's a 10-run game for him. And again, he's going to get a lot of hate, obviously, again, after tonight, giving up 6 runs. But,
I was gonna be like, it's only a 7 run game. Come on.
but
But
again, it's
I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I think that, oh man, I wish I had your quote in the palm of my hand. Um, you said that he is someone you can rely on, but for whatever reason, it's almost like they're relying on him too much. Because for whatever reason, when he goes to play, the Phillies don't perform offensively enough. They can perform in other games. We have over a 500 record. Clearly, they can win games, but it's just never when he's on the mound.
but that's not his fault.
But
Uh,
there's some weird
like, listen,
connection
don't
to
get me wrong.
that.
Again, 6 runs is not good, but when the Phillies are also 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and you got 2 of those runs off bases loaded as walks. I mean, if you finally get a hit, a single or a double, you're looking at having 6 runs, and he's not getting the loss tonight. So while yes, it's a terrible performance from him tonight, it's also a terrible performance from the offense tonight as well. You had a chance to get a hit with bases loaded, and you struck out, walked twice, and then struck out again, and then had a lousy fly ball. Last inning, we're watching the game live, but in the 6th inning, you had first and second, nobody out, and you didn't get a run in. And so, I mean, it's a tough spot. And then, I mean, right now the bullpen doesn't do you any favors. So it's part on the whole team, in my opinion. And again, tonight's the first one I put on Nola out of those 4 losses.
I will say another crazy stat that I was able to find is the Phillies having the worst so far in the MLB league. 18 games, but they have the worst stat of having the most strikeouts with a runner in scoring position, and it's just they just can't capitalize on those moments. And these are like that we're talking about my takeaways like without like officially addressing them, but that's fine. This episode's going to be wrapping up fairly soon, I feel like, anyway. I feels like there's this weird momentum issue, I think, and it's almost like the Phillies know what they're doing. They have the veterans, they have the publicity, they have the knowledge, they have the power, they have the skill. They know what they're doing. You can see them doing it. I feel like there's a mental game going on this early in the season, and it's possible stress might already be getting to the team.
Again, I think team and players are two different things. I think if you want to say it's getting to Bohm and Marsh, for sure. Again, they're not like again they were the highlights of the offseason. They haven't performed, but again, it's 18 games in a season where you won 10 of them, if not 11, depending on what happens here. You're sitting tied for first place. So, I mean, people can panic all they want, but you're a first place team. And again, a team that's going to just build as the season keeps going on. You're going to get one of your better pitchers back here in a week or two in Ranger Suarez, which is going to allow the pitching to settle in too. Get rid of one of the pitchers that are struggling. So your team's only going to get better here in a few weeks as well. So listen, if you're surviving, and listen, it's been outside the first week of the season, you face a tough schedule. You had the Dodgers, you had a division rival who's projected to be right against you in the NL East with the Braves. Then you go out and face a good St. Louis team in one of the tougher parks to play, another team that's over 500. They're sitting tied for first in the NL Central. And tonight you're playing a Giants team who has been very good. They're ranked in the top 5 in the power rankings in baseball. And if you can, if you lose today and you go win tomorrow and split the series with a team that's playing good baseball, I mean, it's not a bad start if you're 11-8 at that point, sitting tied for first place, 20 games into the season.
I'm so there's so many things I wanted to quickly address. First of all, I love that in Andrew's rant, uh, mid rant, he goes, they could be 11-7 after this game. The Giants literally scored a run like during this conversation, just making it 8-4. So I just thought that was funny. Another thing, this is more like I wanted to give him his due, man. I thought it was such a shame seeing Taiwan Walker give up. I don't even remember how many runs or anything, but he just not doing well on Monday. He was having a great couple of starts. I think that was his third start, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And I look excited as all heck for Ranger Danger to come back, but I was cheering for Taiwan Walker to not like steal a starting position, but to do well, man. And I hope he bounces back from it because that was a shame, but he's been doing really well this season. I just wanted to address that.
No, he's been really good. He's been everything you could ask for. And honestly, I didn't even think he overall threw bad in that game on Monday. It was unfortunate. He had a comebacker right to him. And instead of taking his time and making the easy play, he just rushed it and overthrew Trey Turner at second. And that's what, instead of getting out of the inning, it caused a more hectic inning for himself. And if he makes that easy out, you're looking at a whole different start and maybe even another, 3-run or less game for Walker. Again, he was fantastic the first 2 games, and he was solid. Again, is it what you want to have a starter? Not fully, but he was solid in that third game, and he's good. He's earned himself a spot on this team, even when Ranger comes back. He's going to get a spot, and you'll remove somebody else from the pen, and Walker will move to the bullpen.
Oh man, I just watched this game is just so hard to watch, man. I feel like they're booing right now. I'm not listening to the audio, but it's just not good. It's just not good. It's tough. This is tough. I always forgot to. Doesn't matter. I actually think that's really all I had to talk about. And that's kind of a sour. I feel like not sour. You said some good things about Taiwan Walker. I just feel like I'm not on a good eye moment right now, and I don't like it.
And a lot of fans aren't. I mean, that's been everything. A lot of people are complaining and calling it a bad start to the year, but again, I don't know. I'm not panicking. I'm sitting back, and I mean, it'll be all just fine.
I guess it's definitely not a bad start to the season. Like that's just ludicrous to say that. Like the State Farm commercial, ludicrous. Boop. Yeah. But it's just not that. It's more of a we're disappointed because we've seen 2 losses in a row. We saw the Braves loss, we saw the Cardinals loss, and right now it feels like the Giants were about to lose to them as well. And I think those back-to-back losses are a lot of disappointment. I'm also going to say you mentioned it. Let's say you go 500 for the you go 2-2 with the Giants, right? So that puts you at 11-8. I guess this is kind of my last question for Andrew and wrap up any other thoughts you had for today. But if you hit that 500 marker, you don't go over it. You just kind of teeter. It's like when you're at a weight goal and you're like, I don't know if I want to be there over that much weight, but like I could just stay right there. It's like, is that the line? You just can't go. Well, you can't go under 500. I guess is the best way to put it.
What do you mean by like? It's like you don't.
So, like, if we go 2-2 this series, that would end us with 11-8. So that puts us 3 games behind 500. Right? It's kind of
Yeah.
close. It's not extremely, but it's pretty right there. So, like, that 500 marker is that kind of the thing to fear right now?
No, again, there's no fear. Like to me, it's the first month, figure things out, and you'll start rolling around, and it's a spot where this team will pick it up. I mean, is it good to go underneath 500? Obviously not, but let's just say this team loses 6 straight, and you're sitting at 11-13. I mean, it is what it is. It's an April weekend series. I mean, hypothetically, we went. Yeah, you lose tomorrow on Thursday against the Giants and they get swept over the weekend. You'd be 11-13, or sorry, 10-13. It's all about how the team responds, and this team is very talented. I know other people don't think it is, but listen, you came in number 2 and 3 in the power rankings, and some considered you the biggest threat to the Dodgers for a reason, and you're not giving up on it after 20 games into a season, and especially when you're above that mark right now, and things, while yes, has it been perfect? No, but it's not perfect, and you're finding ways to win games, and that's what matters.
I do think, ending on a good note, my last thought, I don't think enough credit was given to this team for delivering the first loss of the season to the Dodgers. Like, I feel like that moment came, it was great, and then we just lost it. And for the longevity of this season, you have to appreciate that this team took business at home, and they handled it. And that's something that you have to hold on to for this season. And you you mentioned it, but like, as the season goes on, as we start raking in wins, as we climb that ladder, think about the ones that mean the most. Yes, it's tough to lose against the Dodgers. uh, Sorry, it's tough to lose against the Braves because they're a division rival. You're fighting them for the division specifically, but you won against the Dodgers. You won against last year's World Series defending champions. You won against the team with the crazy. I don't know if they have the most money in their payroll, but like, they have just an entire stacked team. It was a huge win that you should be holding on to as momentum into the season. And you can't go into the bank booing people right now. You can't go crazy because it's only April. And I think that's just the best way to wrap this up. It's only April. We need to relax. And God damn it, I need to be able to breathe through my nose so I don't sound like I'm congested all the time. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. You can find us all over social media. Everything's in the description below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. We didn't say it, but make sure you're following on Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. Those are really appreciated and mean a lot to us. Spread our Spotify. We would love to get more followers on there. Andrew, anything to say before we wrap it up?
Relax and patience.
Ooh, 2 things Philly fans are so good at, man. All right. Thank you guys, everyone, for listening. And as always, go Phils. Good night.